across to my other colleague, Pule Letshwiti-Jones, who's stationed where the ANC workers are picketing. We understand in news just in that Mondli Ngungubela, that's presidency in the ministry, rather minister in the presidency, is in fact attempting to speak to workers, but he was booed. Let's try and listen in quickly.
Wamfundo, right now we are with the Minister in the Presidency, Mondli Ngungubela, just to give us some sort of briefing around what had transpired there. Minister, maybe before, I know I'm with my colleagues here and they want to speak to you perhaps, but we just want to find out as to why were you put away? What was the concern here? Because ANC workers said you should go away. It seems like they were unsatisfied with what you proposed to them.
I came here to respond to SARS workers. I think we should clarify that. ANC is still going to respond to ANC workers. If you listen to me there, I was not addressing ANC workers. I was addressing SARS workers. They marched to the presidency, and presidency wrote a correspondence to SARS. That's a fact. They say we're lying, but the facts are there. All we need to check whether the letter has reached them or not of our response. Two, to advise workers that the only way we can resolve this matter if they go back to the drawing board. Maybe what I could have said also, we understand now prices are very high in the country. People are going through difficulties. It's the most difficult time for any worker. But at the end of the day, those problems can only be resolved on the table of negotiations. So what I'm trying to say, there's not a single word I said which I intend to reverse, because I'm convinced to deal with the applied, negotiation is the way to go. We have gone to SARS. SARS has told us is that they are seized with the matter, but how they finally resolve it, it must be between SARS and the SARS workers.
Mr. Fair enough, I hear you, but you're an ANC member, senior member as well, and clearly this matter has been persisting for a very long time. Just at your presence as well, and you've seen that workers have been disgruntled for a while right now. Is there some sort of a solution, at least, to give them a bit of hope to say you will speak to their, problems? Because as they are right now, it's a solidarity union. It's workers of SARS, it's workers of the ANC, and they all have the same issues at hand here.
No. The issue of ANC workers is under discussion. Remember, there's a broader NEC, but there are those who are specially employed to deal with these issues. They are the negotiating team of the NEC. I'm very careful to come here and speak about the details of those negotiations. But I can assure you, ANC, NEC is not comfortable with the fact that these workers are not paid. So that there are comrades who are deployed to deal with that. It's unacceptable. I repeat, it's unacceptable. Yes.
Is there a long-term solution?
This is what we have actually asked, that a long-term solution be found. Remember, one of the factors we cannot run away from, the laws that have been factored in, that makes particular requirements. We still have to adjust in line those laws and make our requirements within those laws. That is also another issue which is on the table. But I'm saying the fact of the matter is that it remains unacceptable that the workers are not being paid.
Minister, many are asking, how does the ANC, how is it able to convene these conferences which cost a lot of money, convene other conferences, convene the policy conference, have gala dinners, and yet don't have the money to pay their staffers? They're asking, how does this happen? Is this just the organization turning a blind eye to their situation?
A gala dinner is not a party. It's about fundraising. It's trying to improve the capacity of the ANC's ability to pay. So it's not a party. Secondly, ANC is not an individual. There's a lot of policies that must be looked at in order to improve that capacity. For those policies to be actually resolved, you need a conference like this. For it to take place, you must pay for it. So the point I'm making is that ANC is not one person, it's not TG, it's not president, it's a structure that must resolve certain policies, that must even critique if the current policies can be reworked to even deal with the issues of the workers. Find out if there's anything in these policies that undermine our ability to respond to workers. So this conference is very critical. It deals with the big issues of the country. Issues of poverty, issues of turning around the economy, issues of corruption. You know, for instance, Zondo has tabled a report before us that shows corruption that is in the state. SIU, that shows corruption that is in the state. President made sure that he doesn't edit those reports. They are all in the system. And committed that in October we must be able to show a plan. All those issues are not separated from the bigger environment that even affect what we call workers.
Yeah, I know you speak about the issue of state capture, and I spoke to the chairperson of the Integrity Commission earlier on, saying that the president has appeared before the Integrity Committee as well. Are you hopeful this time around that this paves a good way in terms of there having to be integrity and transparency within the organization? Because according to the Mail and Guardian, they're saying that the president wasn't cooperative and refused to answer some of the questions.
I don't know about the lack of cooperation by the president. The track record I have about him on institutional imperatives, on legal issues, up to this point, we have known him to be a cooperative president. Let me say this. A number of us, even in the ANC, those who are called to come to court, we've called rallies, we've called conferences, how we get support as we go to court. This president, you know, has never asked for a single person to support him because he knows that, amongst other things, when you call a rally and marches, when you are called by the court, there's an unintended consequence of casting aspersion on the integrity and the authority and the independence of what we call a judiciary. He has not done that. You know, he's been called to court a number of times. He's been acquitted. He has never called any rally. To me, you see a president who is committed to subject himself to the law enforcement agency, to the judiciary setup of the country, to the legalities of the country. That's the point.
So you did answer the question?
Yes?
You did answer the question.
I cannot explain a meeting I did not sit in. Remember, it's the president who sat in the IC. For me to say he did answer the question, I'll be gullible.
Okay, maybe just before you go, the last question from my side. This situation of workers, striking of the ANC, it shows that the organization is, of course, challenged. Would you say on record that the ANC is in trouble financially?
We are in trouble financially. That's not hidden. And it doesn't speak well about the governing party not being able to pay its own workers. It's not something we can be proud of. It's painful to some of us. But I know I represent the National Executive. There's general unhappiness about this. But at the end of the day, there are processes to deal with it. I don't want to interfere with those processes.
Okay. Minister, I just want to find out your response to those who may feel that the president of the ANC appearing before the Integrity Commission, that it won't be a fair process, that he might get treated with kid gloves. What would you say to those who are skeptical that he would be treated like any other member who would be called on to appear before the Integrity Commission?
Well, I think the ANC must be, in this regard, must be viewed based on its record. When the Zondo Commission came, it's in our resolutions in 2017. And at all material times when some of our comrades have been questioning Zondo, the NEC said, we support Zondo Commission. ANC has not changed. That's why the president who's deployed by the ANC government has deployed us to formulate a plan he's going to present to implement those recommendations. I mean, I've said here to me, he's been called by Mkwebane, he's gone to court, the CR17 funds. This president has never run away. Adjudication institutions and the highest in the country, the Constitutional Court, has pronounced itself. The only way it could be able to pronounce itself, I suspect, the president presented himself. And he didn't ask for favors. And the IC has not been asked to do president favors because it will not be in line with the constitution of the country, even particularly that of the ANC. ANC members are treated equally in terms of subjecting themselves to the laws of the organization. So if anyone decides to do a president a favor, that is his own doing. He's not actually representing the laws of the organization.
Mr. Mondli Ngubela, thank you very much for joining us on eNCA. This, of course, Minister of the Presidency speaking to us just regarding a litany of issues that have affected the organization, such as that of staffers, but most importantly, speaking to the issue of the President having to appear before the Integrity Commission on that Pala farm scandal, which many say has brought the organization into disrepute. Of course, they're also saying that, according to his own understanding, the President was quite cooperative in that meeting and was, of course, doing what was expected of him to be doing. He's known him as a person who answers questions. But according to media reports, they're saying that the President didn't answer some of the questions that he was asked during the meeting. That's why it had to be adjourned. And when I spoke to Mashamba earlier on, the chairperson of the Integrity Commission, he said that the meeting would be expected again to convene after the policy conference, and that he can confirm that the President did meet with the elders on Tuesday. And just about that, he's also spoken to the fact that, yes, the ANC is in financial challenges, and it is, and he quotes, unacceptable. And they now have to speak to some of the challenges of the workers who actually, when we got here, booed the presidency, the Minister of the Presidency away, Mondli Ngubela, telling him to go back and come back with a much more practical proposal that will speak to how the issue of salary increments will be tabled, and going forward how the ANC will resolve some of their issues.
But I think he's clarified there, Pule, correct me if I'm wrong, that the grouping that is currently there, or the one that booed him, is in fact SARS workers that are also picketing there.
Yes, definitely. He did say that at that particular moment he was speaking to SARS workers, but as it is right now, these are all, disgruntled workers of SARS and ANC coming together wanting answers. And while he was addressing these workers, some of the disgruntled ANC workers also demanded answers, as with Ngubela sits within that NEC and is a senior member representing the ANC as well. So it's just a lot of, answers that are demanded by these workers as well. And as you can see on my screen, they've continued to say they will have the picket outside the venue where the policy conference is, of course, taking place. And this is surveilled by a lot of police officials. As we understand, it's about 4,000 SAPS members who have been deployed to this conference to ensure that security is, of course, underway, and is, of course, ensuring that this conference does not spiral out of control. Maybe I just want to see if we can't also speak to the SACP leaders, but I see he's going away. Maybe perhaps we won't have some time, Fundo, but we'll continue to update you as it comes as to what is happening here on the ground and what is the way forward.
Pule, just before I let you go, you asked the Minister and the Presidency if there was a lasting solution, and his response was they're still looking for one. But what are workers saying? Have they put any proposals forward to deal with this matter around funding? Because we keep hearing that it's not sustainable, honestly, to rely on donors. So have they perhaps proposed anything?
Yeah, well, they've proposed a number of issues in terms of the organization having to respond to these problems, most of which they're saying that perhaps maybe it's high time the organization trims its staffers and ensures that it can move forward with ensuring that there's financial flow in paying some of these workers as well. They've asked for transparency as well. They've asked to meet the president and some of the senior members of the organization to see as to how they can pave a way forward in speaking to some of these financial issues. And when you speak to transparency, they want to get the idea as to how long will it really take to try and have them, pay their salaries and, of course, the outstanding Provident Fund. But perhaps if I can just pause the situation a bit, I just want to show you these visuals of some of the officials who are coming here, SAPS officials, of the view that they're trying to control the crowd here, who was, of course, expected to adjourn by 10 p.m. as you understand, but because we are told that the policy conference has been delayed as well, they've continued to picket outside, and this is what we're seeing now. The SAP is gearing to control this crowd here. But I must tell you, these workers have made it quite clear that they're not going anywhere till they get, the required address from some of the members of the ANC. In fact, they're calling for this matter to be prioritized and be item number 1 when the ANC policy conference kicks off. And you would have heard earlier on, they've also condemned the remarks by the ANC spokesperson Pule Letshwiti-Jones, who said that the organization was not relying on cash and transit operations, but of course relied on donations to ensure that there is financial flow. The Minister of the Presidency has also confirmed that, the organization is of course in financial trouble, and they have to go back to the drawing board to see how they can draw and have some of these solutions work for them to have cash flow once again. You'd know that background tells us that the policy of the Party Funding Act, at the core of this, is one of the issues that many are saying have affected the organization. Remember, according to what we know, business entrepreneurs such as the likes of Edwin Sodi were amongst those who used to fund the ANC, but they've come under scrutiny now and having to appear before the State Capture Commission, and now also appearing before the courts due to some of the dodgy business deals that is happening between the state and some of these individuals. And therefore, this Party Funding Act is limiting the organization's financial movements to ensure that it can become sustainable, particularly under this economy, which is troubled as well.
No, it's something worth discussing strongly, this party political funding, because we do know at some point they had suggested that the threshold for disclosure should be taken up a bit. Pule, we'll leave it there for now. That's reporter Pule Letshwiti-Jones.